President of Productivity at Salesforce, and I help run sales enablement today, but my night job, that's my day job, my night job is I still run our customer visions for our CEO, Mark Benioff. And I've kind of been doing that since day one, and I'll kind of get more into that in just a little bit. So I want to welcome you all to the Midwest Dreamin 2015. As Lena had mentioned, I mean, it's super exciting to be here, that this is a conference put on by you guys. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I've never been able to see something like this at this scale, and so it's been an honor to kind of be here and be on stage with you guys to talk about what we're about to learn today. But before we begin, I really want to, again, just another big round of applause for all the organizers. It really is actually something special to work at Salesforce and see our customers putting on something like this, and for me to be able to participate. And I know this all started with a dream, kind of to bring a bunch of user groups together to one big location. And I know this is the second year of doing this. And who's new to Midwest Dreamin this year? Can everyone raise their hand?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
That looks like about 99% of you are all new this year, and it's only going to continue to grow and get larger. So I don't know how you guys are going to figure out scaling, but this is a great start. So why are we here, or why am I here this morning, and why are we all here today? And we're here to obviously have a fun day of learning, networking, and getting out there to understand more about how you can further your career with Salesforce and grow. And when Eric asked me to speak today, it was one of those things where I was absolutely flattered, as I said, but the next moment I was like immediately scared because I didn't know what the hell I was going to talk about. But then, you know, there's been something I've been thinking about for a long time that I've been wanting to get out there, especially to a lot of you folks, because I know this is a big admin conference as well as developers, is to kind of talk to you about my story of how I'm actually a Salesforce administrator inside of Salesforce, and how I've been able to use Salesforce to really ignite a culture of change within Salesforce. And it's been quite a journey, and so I want to kind of take you on that journey with me to kind of show you and talk about kind of tips and tricks for how I was able to ignite a culture of change, because I'm no different from you. I mean, I just know the setup screen and how terrible that setup tree is, but we're working on it. But it's one of those things where, you know, I've gotten to really know the product like the back of my hand. And so I want to talk about what happened with day one for me at Salesforce, or even actually day zero when I was interviewing. How many of you actually know what this slide is? Okay, just a few. So I'll set this up. So what this is actually the architecture of Salesforce back in 2008. We used to call it the fan and the block. The fan on the right and the block on the left. And the fan represents all of our applications that's set on top of the platform. And then the left is obviously the platform and all the services that you were able to leverage. Now, during my interview at Salesforce, it's kind of a funny story because they told me no, I could not work at Salesforce because I really could not help understand or articulate this slide. And it was a very interesting conversation with the CMO at the time. And Peter, we won't talk about the name because I don't want to throw him under the bus, but it was one of those things where he basically said, my interview was cut short, and about a couple hours later, my advocate who was trying to hire me at Salesforce said, you really messed up that interview because you didn't understand what the hell we were trying to do. And I'm like, yeah, look at this thing. Who else? I mean, how could you actually really explain this or really understand that? And so he goes, but I was able to convince him to give you one more chance and to actually talk about, what you're going to be doing in your job. And I was going for a role of a technical product marketer to actually be an evangelist and actually build demos for the product. And he said, it was a Friday, and he said, you have the weekend to build a demo and actually then present it on Monday to give you another chance to see if you're going to work at Salesforce or not. And I said, okay, how the hell do I do that? Because I don't even know Salesforce. I came from Oracle, I used to implement Siebel, I had no clue what Salesforce was about. So what I did over the next 48 hours was actually spin up a trial org within Salesforce, and I buried myself in the help and training, set up docs, And actually, I was started to think, I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know where to begin. But then I started thinking about the use case, about what I needed to do, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to build a demo around a nonprofit that I was working with at the time to automate a lot of their business processes. And I'm like, okay, that's actually not a bad idea because I know how they do it today. They just write down things or they put in Excel spreadsheets, etc. So what I did was spin up that org, and I was able to build a demo that effectively managed volunteers and how they can volunteer their hours, and then got more of a social profile around that volunteer. And it was at that moment, over the next 48 hours, that weekend, I realized the true power of Salesforce and saw how easy it was to really impact change within a nonprofit. So even if I didn't get the job at Salesforce, I knew that this was going to be my calling to really help a lot of businesses and customers out there on the Salesforce platform. And so what happened was, obviously, I got the job, so it worked out okay. And it was one of those things where, actually, here's one of the demo screens, if I just remember that UI way back in the day. It actually gives me anxiety looking at it, so I don't want to look at it too long. So at that moment, I realized how the power of Salesforce. And fast forward a couple of years, and Lena gave a great introduction. This has been me for the last kind of 5 years at Salesforce, 7 years at Salesforce. And I've been in Salesforce for about 8 years now. And I'm kind of the guy that's the Dreamforce demo guy. When they used to call me the hands, it's because back in the day you could not do outputs from the mobile devices. So we had these HD cameras that on your hands, and my hands were always there. So I had to go get manicures, of course, right? Because I didn't want my fingernails. Never mind. Okay. So that was me, and one of the things was, being the demo guy. People, you kind of make what you want to make of being the demo guy, and I didn't look at myself as just being a demo guy. I looked at myself as kind of being an evangelist for the product, to really show to our customers, such as yourself, the art of the possible and what is out there with what you can do with Salesforce. And it was one of those things where I really took it completely seriously, because the true power of Salesforce, and this is how I can impact change, was to get the message out there that this is all possible on the Salesforce platform. And that's why, I was really excited to come and talk to you guys today, being admins and developers and end users, is that you can actually do that same within your customer base and within your company that you're working for. So eventually my role, the visions that we kind of came up with, these customer visions that we came up with on stage, and you would see them at Dreamforce and all of our events, my influence kept growing, and it was great because I started realizing that a lot of the visions I was building became product visions and prototypes for what we were going to deliver in the product. And so there was a shift in power at that moment in time where people were starting to look at what we were doing on stage, and kind of a lot of you probably don't know, and I'll tell a story in just a little bit. It's a lot of the features you use today were first built by my team to kind of see if we could play around and see if it would make sense for you guys to drive that innovation, such as chatter. And there was this momentous time on where I went away from being the hands and the guy that was, behind the stage, and a lot of you affectionately called me in Twitter Silent Bob. And so I'll show you guys in a second. I don't even know where the Silent Bob came from, but it doesn't matter. It was great. I just love to be recognized. It was fun. But Mark actually called me to actually talk about, the social profile and talk about visions of the future on stage. And that is that moment where I realized, things were evolving. You can be a product evangelist. You can unlock the power of the Salesforce platform and really help to that change. And so with that momentous change, you can see some of the Twitter sphere kind of saying, oh, Silent Bob breaks his silence and blah, 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 blah. And it was actually really cool because I knew I made it when there was a Lego character made in my likeness from Gary Palmentier, right, in a YouTube video. So, and that kind of just inspired me more to do more for you guys and to kind of show you the art of the possible on stage. And so all of that design and that stuff I was prototyping and doing on stage, Parker was like, well, why don't you kind of come over into tech and prod and help run our product design team to deliver the next generation of the UI, which was the Salesforce One mobile app. And so what we did was we blew up the UI on the mobile app and we launched Salesforce One, which I know a lot of you potentially use today. And what we're going to do is, from the learnings that we're creating on the Salesforce One mobile app, we're going to also extend that onto the desktop to give a new way to think about how Salesforce can change. And stay tuned for those kind of updates at Dreamforce. But then eventually, over time as well too, after Salesforce One was launched, what also happened was, we were growing at an amazing clip, and my brand at Salesforce was the guy that was the fixer and visionary for how we can blow up things at Salesforce and really rethink the process and actually implement it. So now my next assignment that I've been working on is I'm the SVP of Productivity and Field Enablement, and really helping our field reps as well as our customer success folks understand the power of the Salesforce platform, because I don't think really everyone fully grasps and realizes what you can actually do with Salesforce. It's quite amazing, and I know a lot of you understand that, but we cannot say it enough. So today is about you, and today is about how I don't see myself any different from you, except I'm just here up on stage talking about my journey. But I feel like you guys can unlock the innovation and power within the Salesforce platform and really understand that business processes. And you are empowered to really ignite that culture of change within your own company. So I kind of wanted to pull together the top 5 tips for how you can ignite change at your company. And this is me. I actually do walk around with a smoking jacket. No, not all the time, just on Fridays. But the number 1 tip I want to kind of talk to you about is it's all in the vision, okay? So thinking about the problem that you are trying to solve, it might be a small problem, but you got to kind of dig deeper and understand the core of the problem and understand the why of your trying to solve whatever problem you're trying to solve in your daily, business transformation or your daily, or your business objective. And you got to think bigger. You got to continually think bigger about the why. You got to think bigger about the vision. And as Mark continually reminds us at Salesforce, we're not thinking big enough. And we got to continue to think big enough. And we got to continue to think bigger. And it's all about the vision. And I want to talk to you a little bit about a story, which is Toyota Friend. And Toyota Friend, has anyone heard of this story? Toyota Friend, except for Peter Coffey? Yes, okay, a couple people. Is that Dave? No, Dave. So Toyota Friend was kind of a vision that really ignited how Salesforce thought of Salesforce, how we can become a bigger vision and solution for a lot of our customers out there. This was back in 2008, 2009, where Toyota-san came to us and he asked Mark, he goes, I need help. I just want to understand innovation, and you are the leader of innovation. And back then, Facebook and Twitter were large, and it was a lot about the social enterprise. It wasn't actually the social enterprise, but Facebook and Twitter were coming into play. And Toyota-san was also in the news about a lot of his cars being recalled. And he went before the government, the US government, and really apologized to the US government, and he felt a lot of shame. So he really needed to do something different about his company. And so the story goes like this, where it was a Sunday night, and it was Sunday night, and I got a phone call. I'm sitting at a bar watching Sunday Night Football, and I don't recognize the number. So what do you do when you don't recognize the number? You actually send it to voicemail, right? And then it calls again. And what did I do? I sent it to voicemail again. And then third time, I'm like, okay, this person is really trying to reach me. I don't understand. So I picked up the phone quite annoyed, and I was like, hi, this is Dan. Hey, it's Mark. I'm like, Mark who? He goes, your boss. I put it on mute, and I go, shit. Hey, Mark, what's up? Right? Dan, I need you to help me build a vision and a prototype with Toyota. He's coming to my house on Wednesday. I need you to make it Cloud 2. And for the folks, Cloud 2 was kind of our positioning to the market that there was a next generation of cloud coming in. It was all about social, mobility, and being cloud. And he goes, I need you to make this vision Cloud 2. And we need to do something with their cars, right? And back in 2008, 2009, the Internet of Things was kind of just a small, like theory out there about connecting things onto the internet. So I said, okay, great, I will start thinking about that. And what is anyone that says to a CEO, like, he goes, oh, and by the way, I need you to fly to my house on Tuesday, so I need you to build this demo tomorrow, and then present it to Toyota-san on Wednesday. And I'm like, okay, great. So I was like, you know what, Mark? No problem, done. And obviously I started freaking out right after that point. So ran home, did a lot of research and discovery, started whiteboarding a bunch of things of what we can do, brought my team into this, and we made it better. And what we actually came up with was not a Salesforce automation, not a customer service automation, but we actually really looked at Toyota's customers, the end users, the drivers. And we said, how can we service them better? And how can we help Toyota service their customers better? So we talked a lot about the connected car. And Toyota Friend became that kind of idea where Chatter we just launched Chatter as well. So why can't we have a car chatting onto a private network that is solely only like a private community that's only for that customer? And maybe it could be for his family of cars. And the car, when it's like low on gas, it can tweet, or not tweet, it can chatter basically saying, I'm low on gas, or my tires are low, or I need an oil change. And so we started talking about a lot of that predictive intelligence that the car was telling you what actually it could do. So we went and presented that to Toyota-san, and he was completely blown away. And it was one of those things where we started, Mark was like, this is amazing. He goes, I'm going to go meet the global CIO of Germany next week, do the same thing for Germany, and get on a plane with me. And so that kind of launched the Toyota Friend of how we thought about our customers inside of Salesforce. And to kind of talk more about that, I want to have actually Toyota-san tell you more about this, but actually this picture is from the Tokyo showroom where we launched this Toyota Friend partnership to talk about how we can, Salesforce and Toyota coming together to really build that Internet of Things and have that capabilities to talk to your car. And the story goes like, you have your Toyota Corolla, you have your Toyota Highlander, why can't you have a car named Toyota Friend? And that car is your friend to get you safely from point A to point B, and it's talking to you every time it needs something. So, to kind of talk about that, let's have Toyota-san.
それはこのトヨタ全世界30万人おりますけれども、30万人のいろんな人たちの責任者であるということがはっきりしたんだなというふうに思いました。